what he did just now shocked all of them. What he wanted to do was to imprint in their minds the image of his power, and the best thing to accomplish this is to defeat the very first goblins. With that powerful kick, sending the goblins' bodies several meters away. Then the protagonist takes the dagger that this monster is holding. In his mind, he really needed to avoid being surrounded by these monsters. So he needed to show them how strong he was. Besides, there was another important thing he needed to get. That was the attention of the angel assigned to their group, who now seemed pleased with what our hero had shown. Blackside had no choice but to put on a little performance in front of everyone. The two goblins that rushed in his path were slashed in an instant. Other players are now wondering if Blackside is some kind of secret agent in real life. They also admire his nickname Blackside, and since our main character has shown his strength against the goblins, they get the idea that perhaps these monsters are the weakest monsters they will ever face. Some of them were complacent and thought that they could easily defeat these monsters, but that quickly changed when one of the goblins approached a player. With just one attack, the said weakest monster was able to defeat them. The truth about their situation had finally set in. This was really the part where they couldn't be confident and expect to survive at all. And as that person was being killed by the goblin, all the people began to scatter and run for their lives. Our protagonist gets a glimpse of how the others are doing. This scene is one of the so-called greetings to Inferno. At this point, no one would be mistaken for thinking that this is just a game. Nowadays, people have only one thing on their minds, and that is the concept of survival. The once carefree people who dominated the food chain have become victims. The first instinct upon seeing this danger is to flee without direction. Blackside remembered that this was the same mistake he had made the first time. And only after the second regression was he finally able to face the harsh truth, and that was that no matter how fast a person ran, they could never escape this dementia. This woman didn't know that there was an invisible barrier preventing them from making a greater distance from the mists. She stopped walking and wondered what to do next. This situation was also a wake-up call for modern people. With everything that is easily given to them through the use of technology, their instincts of killing other creatures have been lost. Some of them will hesitate to make their first kill. However, having two minds within this game can prove fatal, as it can give the monsters the slightest chance to turn things around and have their counterattacks. A few minutes passed and some of the people exceeded their limits, but they were in a difficult situation. The angel continued to watch the match with amusement. He said that goblins might only be the size of a human, but players would still have a hard time killing them, especially when they came in groups and armed with daggers. But while most people were struggling, one individual caught his attention, and that was Blackside. He wondered what was wrong with this guy. The angel then checked his progress and found that our protagonist had already killed 70 goblins. He was annoyed that the system would only show him this player's progress and nothing more, but he decided to let this matter go because he didn't expect that some of the common people would have 101 like him, who would be interested in watching over them. The battle against these monsters continued, and each time a player defeated a goblin, they would gain experience points and gold, which would eventually level them up. As for our protagonist's progress, he had now killed 75 goblins, and he continued to show off his impressive skills while dodging all of the goblins' weapons. Another group was now rushing towards him, but each of them was met only with a quick and powerful attack from the dagger. This man's hand was now stained with the blood of the monsters, causing some to hesitate to attack and approach him. But our protagonist showed no mercy and continued the attack. One attack was enough to defeat them, his eyes becoming even more terrifying as he searched for more goblins to kill. This was also the time when Blackside noticed that the goblins were attacking him, and since no one was attacking him, he thought he could use this time to rest for a while. He checked his status window again and revealed that he was now level 4. He also has 6 additional stat points. Players will receive 2 additional stat points when they level up. And our main character dedicates all of these towards his dexterity stat. And that was because this stat would not only increase his dodge rate, but also increase his attack and movement speed. Nothing was more important than dexterity at the beginning. After that, Blackside thought that with this kind of development, he would definitely get the angel's attention now. He was wondering how he was going to finish the first mission. A spinning dagger was thrown and landed on one of the goblins. Our protagonist faced the goblins again and asked if they really wouldn't come near him. This teasing proved ineffective as the goblins still did not move from their positions. Blackside sighed as he realized this. He knew he really had no other choice. But in one swift movement, our protagonist vanished from his position. This man had traveled the distance through this group of goblins just to retrieve the dagger he had thrown at them. It took these monsters a few seconds to realize what had happened, but as they turned back, they were met with this devastating round slash. They were all cut in half. Killing the group of goblins sealed the end for our main character. He had leveled up again. The system also informed him that he had just completed the requirements for the first mission. A ray of golden light surrounded Blackside. This confirms that he is done. Our protagonist thinks that the first round is always so easy. All he has to do is try harder to get the angel's attention. After that, the system congratulated him for being the first to complete the quest in their given zone. Blackside also took first place in all zones. His total time was 10 minutes and 21 seconds. This guy had this happy smile on his face as he regained rank 1. This would prove to be beneficial as the top 3 players finishing each mission would get some sort of reward. His reward for being rank 1 in his given zone was the lowest rank rare weapon selection coupon. For the reward of rank 1 in all zones, our protagonist got a special reward selection box. These items would clearly provide a huge advantage over other players, and the first thing Blackside decided to use was the weapon coupon. The system then presented him with a list of the following rare weapons from which he could choose. He then felt disappointed that he would have to use these low-rank weapons again, but was still grateful to have them in the first place. Our protagonist then clicked on one of the options, and the weapon he chose was the stiletto. This weapon is considered the best dagger available to beginners. It also has an attack power of 15 and an additional dexterity stat. After receiving the item, our protagonist threw away the dagger he had gotten from the goblins. As for another reward, he planned to open it next time, and while Blackside was busy checking all the rewards he had earned, the other players were still chasing the goblins. Our protagonist also checked his status window and noticed something strange this time. This man was referring to the title he had received earlier called Last Time Regressor. He thought he hadn't seen it in the past 90 years of being cursed. When they were asked to use the rune, our protagonist used his too, and the rune he got was the rune of regression, which was the same thing he had gotten from the first time. This was the thing that had allowed him to reach this point. After using it, the rune was immediately imprinted on his body. The only thing that was different now was the error the rune was receiving. Our protagonist had expected this because he knew he would never be able to return. This rune also confirmed his 100th regression, which caught Blackside's attention. This was also the time he took the title of Last Time Regressor. In this game, the titles are superior rune concepts. The Last Time Regressor is only obtained at the 100th regression of a particular individual, and it allows the user to remain in the form of tears for 1 minute. The user can be revived at any desired point in time as long as their health is restored. He then remembered that the ability to resurrect could only be seen as a crazed skill. Even that only restored up to 30% of their health. Our protagonist thought that the title he had taken this time would really prove useful, and having this in his possession would really help him finish the game this time. Because this title is unique and seems to be very rare to appear, Blackside has requested that it be set to private. This setting will prevent any other players or only them from seeing this information. Our protagonist stretched out his hands when he thought that other players who had passed the mission would soon appear. He also wondered how Youngmin was doing. As he explored the area, he saw this man still alive. Blackside realized that Youngmin would also survive this round. After a few more moments, several golden lights appeared all over the place. The angel was still watching and smiling as he wondered why the battlefield was a bit boring for his taste. It turned out that the number of goblins had actually decreased as more and more people were killing 100. The fun of fighting groups of monsters was gone. All they had to do was apologize for their mistake. He promised to make it more fun. The other survivors burst into tears upon hearing his deceptive words. They knew this meant some trouble. Meanwhile, the bodies of the dead players began to disappear. More people noticed this and ran away wondering why it was happening. And while they were worried about their friends and companions, another bright light was released. This was the first time that seeing a golden light did not mean safety. Another group of goblins began to rush towards the players. Their faces were now filled with fear. They were already tired of the previous group. The angel revealed his crazy face again and told them that he had just added another 50,000 goblins for these people to kill. Since they really had no choice but to fight, the remaining players faced these goblins. The peaceful open field had once again become bloody. The monsters did their best to fulfill their role in this mission. But at the same time, the players were angry and found a way to survive. As time went on, the number of people passing the mission increased. Youngmin was also released, but this man used other people as a barrier against the goblins' attacks. In times of need, desperate measures are needed. Another 1,000 participants passed, and through it all, Blackside just kept quiet and closed his eyes. He was fed up with this scene. It often happened that people lost their lives, and this was the 100th time he had played the game. Once the participants pass, they are no longer allowed to help the remaining ones who have a mission. This angel continues to whisper, a kind of comfort. Our main character's eyes soon open. This is because they have been notified that all 5,143 participants have passed the mission. There are some unlucky survivors who survived but did not kill 1,000 goblins. They wonder where all the monsters have gone. The angel turned his attention to them as he announced that the mission was over. He began to apologize to the unfortunate survivors, because what would happen next would be according to the rules of the game. Their bodies began to fade. These are destined to die. Some are begging for another chance because only a few goblins need to be killed. But their cries go unheard. The saint waved as the first round of the game ended. He told the remaining people that they should all be happy because they had passed. He laughed as he congratulated the remaining people. He also wished them good luck for the next mission. Before the players could leave, the results of the mission were presented. The top spot was taken by our main character. The system announced Black Sai's victory. In addition to the 2 first prizes, he would also be awarded an additional 1,000 gold. Our protagonist accepted the gold and was informed that he could use it to purchase certain items once he reached level 10. He also noticed that more eyes were becoming wary of his presence, and that was his plan. He wanted to show everyone that he was the leader. The angel interrupted and congratulated that he had not expected the top rank to be within his zone. He paid attention to Blackside and wanted to answer his question. The saint just asked how he became strong and asked if he had received a strong run. But before he could finish his question, he stopped himself and realized that this question was a mistake. Blackside teased him and asked if he could see his run by looking at his status window. The angel was confused and lied about this information. He pretends to see the run our main character has received. But the only thing that turns out to be a ruse is Blackside, who just smiles at him and doesn't answer his questions. And to change the course of things, Blackside calls his attention and asks for a favor. The situation becomes more unexpected for the angel. He has no idea that this man has been in the same situation for the past 10 times. Our protagonist raises his head and shows his immense feelings for the reward he received as the top achiever of this mission. He said that they were too greedy. This surprised everyone around him. They did not expect that anyone would try to ask for additional rewards in front of the merciless angel. And as expected, the angel's mood changed as our protagonist was asked what he had said. But Blackside wasn't fazed, not even for a moment. He continued on and repeated the same words he had said earlier. He wanted a better reward. Our protagonist's combative behavior was gradually irritating the angel. But while everyone was confused, in the back of their minds, these two just stared at each other. For this angel, he wondered if he was being looked down upon because he had led this mission. He couldn't accept the idea that a simple person would dare to ask him for requests. He raised his hand, which he had planned to drop, but he stopped when he remembered that he had already used that authority a moment ago, which meant he couldn't use it to kill our main character. Another idea came to his mind as he stared at Blackside. He knew this was enough to drive him away. The angel lowered himself and walked towards the ground. He explained that normally, things like this were immediately driven away, but he told Blackside that he would think about it and that they would need to talk privately. The others might wait for them until they returned. As they walked away from the others, some praised Blackside. His negotiation with an angel really worked. They were wondering what kind of reward he would get, and to the people watching behind our main character, Yongmin was there. He felt the gaze and returned it. Yongmin was confused and asked if there was something he didn't understand, but our main character continued walking with a smile on his face. Meanwhile, these two have come a long way from the other eclipses. They are now inside the forest. The angel orders our protagonist to walk closer to him because he is getting tired of checking to see if he is still with him. In the back of his mind, he was already angry with people. He thought that this race needed to be yelled at before they would understand things. He also considered them greedy and stupid. And as he walked, he thought that there was nothing he could do about the rewards because he wasn't the one who set them. And because he thought Blackside had been too timid, he planned to teach him a lesson. Right behind that rock was the place where the system wouldn't see them, so he wanted to kill him when they reached that point. The angel knew that there would be consequences if his superiors found out that he had killed one of the participants for his own personal reasons. But for now, he resented him for being helpless. And to make sure that this was going to be a perfect plan, he isolated our main character so that there would be no witnesses. This angel had this crazy smile because he was so excited. He thought that this person should just shut up. Then he turned to look at the main character. He also asked what kind of rewards he could expect to get. But as he stared at Blackside, what he saw was a fist heading very quickly towards his face. And Damapo is a very delicious punch. It doesn't matter if you are an angel or even a god. Those who show bad behavior should be taught a lesson. This holy creature turned into holy shit in an instant. This was the moment he realized that he wasn't that powerful in front of people. He was confused as he looked at the golden blood that came out of it. He wondered if someone had really been trying to hurt him. When his mind came to its senses, he turned around to retaliate, but there was no one behind him. Blackside had disappeared from his sight. It only took a few seconds for the main character to appear and startle the angel. Blackside grabbed one of his wings, and the angel immediately became frightened. He knew what was about to happen. But even so, she still screams and asks what this person is going to do to her. She also begs him to stop, but our main character is really ruthless. He doesn't care about her and breaks her wings like they're fragile. The angel almost lost consciousness from the pain he felt at that moment. And as Blackside tore at him, golden blood spattered all over the place. With a cold gaze and expression, our protagonist told him to stop being a crybaby. Blackside didn't stop there and grabbed another wing. He counted this one again as the angel screamed. All the wings were now removed. Blackside commented that this way he wouldn't be able to run anymore. He also asked if the angel was feeling pain, and of course the angel answered yes. It's as if a part of his body has been ripped from him. Our protagonist reveals that in 5 minutes, he would have been the one asking these questions. If his plan had worked, he would have been the one laughing the entire time. The angel tried to deny these allegations and shouted that he was very confused. And that's when Blackside revealed the dagger hidden behind the wings. He said that this angel was planning to stab him in the back with this weapon, and since the angel fell silent, the main character confirmed his intention. But he still tried to talk his way out of the situation. Blackside smiled and told him that he didn't have to lie, because just by looking at his expression, he already knew the answer. He also called the angel Buriel. Buriel was stunned upon hearing this statement. She asked our main character how he knew his name, but this man simply replied that she didn't need to know. At the same time, he pulled out his newly acquired dagger from the storage space. Buriel was stunned when she saw it, asking why our protagonist had pulled out his weapon. She then taunted our protagonist about blowing his head off with her ability. He said that just by snapping his fingers, things could end badly for him. But Blackside already knew that he couldn't use said skill anymore because he had used it before. This was also the reason why he became confident. And as for Buriel, she was busy thinking about what she should do. She had no other choice now. But this angel did not give up easily. She said that if the other angels found out that she was going to die, her companions would take revenge against Blackside. The only problem is that our main character knows that all angels are egoists who don't care what other people do, and they don't care if one of them gets killed or not. Our main character was about to kill him now, but he tried to give him reasons not to do it. He said that if he did this, it would not give him any benefit. Moreover, you will not be able to go home, Blackside. But as we said earlier, he already knew that all these words were not true. Regarding the last offer, the angel said that he could give him all the information this person needed for all the missions. But Blackside didn't really need it. He had already run through all of this 1,000 times, and all the events were already imprinted in his mind. Besides, if he needed information, he could just torture him until he revealed all the knowledge he had. After that statement, the angel was shocked when the dagger in our protagonist's hand went straight into his chest. Burial fell to the ground as the dagger was pulled out of his body. A system notification appeared and confirmed that an angel had been defeated by our protagonist. He was also the very first player to do this. As a reward, he was given the title of First Angel Slayer. Furthermore, 2 things materialized in his hands. One of them was called Angel's Blood, and the red rune was called the Rune of Slaughter. The Blackside immediately used the rune, and it was already imprinted on his body. The title of Angel Slayer, its effect was that it would double all of the player's stats while fighting a holy creature. Our protagonist remembers that the first time he learned about the rewards for killing angels was when he was in his 13th return. He took revenge on one of them, and items appeared, such as the Butcher Rune, also known as the Rune of Slaughter. Its effect is that every time a target is killed, all stats increase by 1%, and this rune has a maximum of 100%. Blackside smiled as he looked at the things he had obtained. Each reward could now be compared to a unique item. He thought that the other angels would be surprised when they found out that he had obtained another rune. His expression quickly changed as he thought that there was another reason why he had killed Burial, and that was to obtain this thing that was enveloped in golden light. That's all for today, guys. See you on the next upload.